I mostly read public domain books here on Glenn Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist, or sexist, or bigoted, but in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist, but they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning, but I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining. Oh boy, season 3 of The Witcher's on, and it's the final one with Henry Cavill, and I can't wait to sit here. Oh, fine, turd. Why don't you just have a seat? I was about to watch the final season of The Witcher with Henry Cavill in it, but no, you had to show up and ruin it. That's the only time I can enjoy this show in my mansion. The fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not recording my basement. Can't afford the mansion anymore because the file that I use is corrupt and I have to get rid of it. So it turns out I'm going to be moving back into my mother's basement. So pretty soon, the fun little bit where I pretend to read is going to be in the basement instead of pretending to not read my... I don't even like my own show. So I'll finish reading Much Ado About Nothing for you. Welcome to the Glenn Reads Books to You mansion for the last time. Fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording my basement, which I'll be doing next time. This is where I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, I'm going to finish Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, you want to learn about him? Sure. He's baptized April 1564 because they have no idea when he was born, and he died the 23rd of April, 1616. I got a lot to say for fun facts, so we're skipping straight to the fun facts. There's a bunch of weirdos that are way, way too into the idea that Shakespeare didn't write any of these plays. They have a bunch of vague concepts and conspiracy theories and are out there with a kind of energy trying to disprove this that you wouldn't see anyone apply to something like, the Bible, a book transcribed from word of mouth by 1 million people in the Old Testament and a bunch of followers in the New Testament, which was all edited with personal opinions by a bajillion monks who had to make hard copies by hand from Greek to Latin. And then they had to do it all over again from Latin to English, constantly changing things. No one talks about the authenticity of that stuff, but these people get so worked up about Shakespeare and if he wrote his shit or not that they've named themselves Anti-Stratfordians after his hometown because they're nerds. Besides thinking that there's a conspiracy to hide the truth, they believe that Stratford-upon-Avon was a small town that mainly dealt with sheep, so they think it's so backwater that there's no way a smart person could have ever been born there. They think his parents didn't have a literate background, so maybe they couldn't read, or they could, but not so well. But then again, it's impossible to raise someone who could get an education or learn how to read on their own and be generally smart. He went to the King's New School, so I'm sure he learned how to read, but since there wasn't a record of him being there, they say he didn't even go. Though, as I've been saying for the last couple months, they don't even know when he was born. So record keeping wasn't really a thing back then. Then they say that aristocratic kids didn't want the taboo of being in common print, so their works were only supposed to be for other aristocrats. So then they decided to use Shakespeare as kind of like a figurehead to publish their works without shame. And if you've read anything about the repressed culture of that time, rich kids in England would totally publish their own crap under a fake name while they hang out with prostitutes and smoke opium. They don't have to just descend on some random guy to print their work. So in 1987, weirdly enough, 3 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court convened a fake court to hear the Anti-Stratfordian position, and they ruled that all the evidence came from mere conspiracy theories and just hearsay, so there's no real case. Then, because England can't be outdone, this is about one of their people, later that same year, 3 law lords held another trial at the Inner Temple in London, and they decided that the whole thing was stupid. Then, to prove that they're not insane and that they're completely normal people, in the late 19th century, Dr. Orville Owen built a decoder machine to study Shakespeare's works. What the hell did that thing look like? Because he thought that the works had a hidden code that included details about the true author behind the works. Later on, he also tried dredging the River Wye after supposedly decoding from this machine that he made, whatever that thing's got to look like, proof that a box containing manuscripts lay under the river. He and his assistant also later claimed that more manuscripts lay hidden behind the walls of the Canterbury Tower in Islington. So I imagine they didn't pull up anything from the river, then to turn around and say like, nah, there's some hidden behind the walls. Let's go tear that down. Morons. And since conspiracy nuts think that they can make money off themselves, they made a movie about it in 2011 called Anonymous. I even had a guy on Twitter DM me only because he saw that I was posting my episodes. Not like he listened to any of them. He wanted to make real sure that I knew he didn't write what I'm reading. And lastly, they say since Shakespeare had never traveled the world, there is no way he'd be able to write about the locations he set some of his plays in. But from what I've seen, he mostly just kind of names the location, but doesn't give any details like common sayings in that part of the world or any mention of things only people who live there would know. So he just says like, this is in Denmark. That's the only clue you have of what's going on and where this whole thing's taking place. And since the Anti-Stratfordians admit that he only ever learned in Latin, it makes it obvious how he wrote his plays about Caesar, because he's got his entire diary out there in Latin. So I love that the obvious point where most of these people, the Anti-Stratfordians, have come to these conclusions without ever actually having been to England or rich enough to graduate from Harvard, they kind of defeat their own point. So anyways, I'm done complaining about these weirdos. Let's go to my library for the last time, and let's finish this thing. Well, now that you're all settled, let me explain to you the scene we're just about to read. Thank God this is the last time I'm going to have to do this. Scene 1, Leonardo is being dramatic because he doesn't know for sure if his daughter is a whore or not. Antonio tries to cheer him up by telling him, just be patient, but Leonardo tells him to shut up. Don Pedro and Claudio walk in and see Leonardo there and kind of smooth on back out the door. But Leonardo sees them and follows them out to yell at Claudio that he wants to challenge him to a duel. Don Pedro and Claudio are kind of embarrassed for him and try to pretend that they don't hear him. But Leonardo and Antonio leave vowing revenge. Then Benedict shows up. Claudio and Don Pedro are all, hey, make me laugh. I want to be in a good mood. Do that wit thing you're always doing all the time. But Benedict says he's not feeling into it right now. He then just kind of mumbles that he's challenging Claudio to a duel. They think he's kidding, but then he says, like, no, for real. And then they're confused because funny guy Benedict is just being so weird. But realize that it was probably Beatrice that set him up to it. Dogberry shows up with the watch, dragging Conrad and Baraccio with them. Dogberry tells Claudio about the whole scam and how Hero was innocent the whole time. They freak out because they wrongly accused her, and now she's dead. Then Leonardo and Antonio return, so Claudio and Don Pedro beg for their forgiveness. Leonardo demands that Claudio run around town talking about how his daughter was pure and how he was a dick. And then to even write a poem about it and to actually sing it at her tomb. Then he says that Antonio has a daughter a lot like Hero and demands that he marries her. At this point, Claudio will just go along with any weird shit that Leonardo thinks up, so he agrees. And then Leonardo orders Baraccio to go back to jail. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Leonardo and Antonio. Antonio, if you go on thus, you'll kill yourself, and 'tis not wisdom thus to second grief against yourself. Leonardo, oh, I pray thee, cease thy counsel, which falls into mine ears as profitless as water in a sieve. Give me not counsel, nor let no comforter delight mine ear, but such as one whose wrongs do suit with mine. Bring me a father that so loved his child, whose joy of her is overwhelmed like mine, and bid him speak of patience. Measure his woe and length and breadth of mine, and let it answer every strain for strain, and thus for thus, and such a grief for such. in every lineament, branch, shape, and form. If such a one will smile and stroke his beard, oh, bid sorrow wag, cry hem, and he should groan. Patch grief with proverbs and make misfortune drunk with candle wasters. Bring him yet to me, and I of him will gather patience. But there is no such man. For brother, men can counsel and speak comfort to that grief which they themselves not feel, but tasting it, their counsel turns to passion, which before would give perceptual medicine to rage. Fed a strong madness in a silken thread, charm ache with air, and agony with words. No, 'tis all man's office to speak patience to those things wiring under the load of sorrow, but no man's virtue nor sufficiency. I'm going to go with that. To be so moral when he shall endure the like himself. Therefore, give me no counsel. My griefs cry louder than advertisement. Antonio, therein do men from children nothing differ. Oh, I pray thee peace, and I will be flesh and blood. For there was never yet a philosopher that could endure the toothache patiently. However, they have writ the style of gods and make a push at the chance of sufferings. Burp, Antonio, yet bend not all your harm upon yourself. Make those that do offend you suffer too. Oh, there thou speakest reason. Nay, I will do so. My soul doth tell me Hero is belied, and that shall Claudio know, so shall the prince and all of them thus dishonor her. Enter Don Pedro and Claudio. Antonio. Oh, here comes the prince and Claudio hastily. Don Pedro. Oh, a good evening. E'-en, good Eden. Claudio, good day to both of you. Leonardo, hear you, my lords. Don Pedro, oh, we have some haste, Leonardo. Leonardo, oh, some haste, my lord. Well, fare you well, my lord. Are you so hasty now? Well, all is one. Don Pedro, nay, do not quarrel with us, good old man. Antonio, oh, if he could right himself with quarreling, some of us would lie low. Claudio, who wrongs him? Leonardo, Mary, thou dost wrong me. Thou, dissembler, thou. Nay, never lay thy hand upon thy sword. I fear thee not. Claudio, Mary, beshrew my hand, if it should give your ache such cause of fear. In faith, my hand meant nothing to my sword. Tush, man, never fleer a jest at me. I speak not like a dotard, nor a fool. As underprivileged of age to brag, what I have done being young, or what I would do, were I not old. No, Claudio, to thy head, thou hast so wronged mine innocent child and me, that I am forced to lay my reverence by, and with gray hairs and bruise of many days, do challenge thee to a trial of a man. I say thou hast belied mine innocent child. Thy slander hath gone through and through her heart, and she lies buried with their ancestors. Oh, in a tomb where never scandal slept, save this of hers, framed by thy villainy. Claudia, my villainy? Leonardo, thine, Claudio, thine, I say. Don Pedro, you say not right, old man. Oh, my lord, I'll prove it on his body if he dare. Despite his nice fence and his active practice, he may of youth and bloom of lustihood. Claudio, away, I will not have to do with you. Leonardo, oh, canst thou so daff me? Thou hast killed my child. If thou killest me, boy, thou shalt kill a man. Antonio, and he shall kill two of us, and men indeed. But that's no matter. Let him kill one first. Win me and wear me. Let him answer me. Come, fellow, me, boy. Come, sir boy, come, follow me. Sir boy, I'll whip you from your foining fence. Nay, as I am a gentleman, I will. Leonardo, brother. Antonio, content yourself. God knows I love my niece, and she's dead. Slandered to death by villains that dare as well answer a man indeed as I dare to take a serpent by the tongue. Boys, apes, braggarts, jacks, and milksops. Leonardo, brother Anthony, Antonio, hold your content. What? Men, I know them, yea, and what they weigh, even to the utmost scruple. Scrambling, outfacing, fashion-mongering boys that lie and cog and flout, deprave and slander. Go, Anticely, and show outward hideousness, and speak off 6 dangerous words. Oh, how they might hurt their enemies if they durst, and this is all. Leonardo, but Brother Anthony, oh, do you not meddle? Let me deal with this. Don Pedro, gentlemen both, we will not wake your patience. My heart is sorry for your daughter's death, but on my honor she was charged with nothing, but what was true, very full of proof. Leonardo, my lord, Don Pedro, I will not hear you. Leonardo, no, come, brother, away, I'll be heard. Antonio, and shall of some of us will smart for it. Exit Leonardo and Antonio. Enter Benedict. Don Pedro, see, here comes the man we want to seek. Claudio, now, Signor, what news? Benedict, to Don Pedro, good day, my lord. Don Pedro, well, welcome, Signor, you're almost come to part almost a fray. Claudio, we had like to had our 2 noses snapped off, with 2 old men without teeth. Don Pedro, Leonardo and his brother, what's thou think of that, eh? Had we fought, I doubt we would have been too young for them. In a false quarrel there is no true valor. I came to seek you both. Claudio, we have been up and down to seek thee, for we are high-proof melancholy, and would fain to have it beaten away. Wilt thou use thy wit? Is in my scabbard, shall I draw it? Don Pedro, dost thou wear thy wit by thy side? Claudio, never any did so, though very many have been beside their wit. I will bid thee draw, as we do the minstrels. Draw to pleasure us. Don Pedro, I am an honest man. He looks pale. Art thou sick or angry? Claudio, to Benedict, what courage, man. What though care kill the cat? Thou hast mettle enough in thee to kill care. Sir, I shall meet your wit in my career. And you charge it against me, I pray you both choose another subject. Claudio to Don Pedro, nay, then, give him another step. This was broke cross. Don Pedro, by this light he changes more and more. I think he may be angry indeed. Claudio, if he be, he knows how to turn his girdle. Shall I speak a word in your ear? Claudio, God bless me from a challenge. Benedict aside to Claudio, you are a villain, and I jest not. I will make it good how you dare, with what you dare, and when you dare. Do me right, or I will protest your cowardice. You have killed a sweet lady, and her death shall fall heavy on you. Let me hear from you. Well, I will meet you, so I may have good cheer. Don Pedro, what, a feast? A feast? Claudio, I faith, I thank him. He hath bid me to a calf's head and a capron, of the which I do not carve most curiously. Say, my knife's not. Shall I not find a woodcock too? I'll tell you the honest truth, I have no idea what that line said, but we're moving on. Benedict, sir, your wit ambles well. It goes easily. Don Pedro, I'll tell thee how Beatrice praised thy wit the other day. I said, thou hast a fine wit. True, said she, a fine little one. No, said I, a great wit. Right, says she, a great gross one. Nay, said I, a good wit. Just, said she, it hurts nobody. Nay, said I, the gentleman is wise. Certain, said she, a wise gentleman. Nay, said I, he hath the tongues. That I believe, said she, for he swore a thing on me Monday night, which he forswore on Tuesday morning. There's a double tongue. There's 2 tongues. Thus did she an hour together transshape thy particular virtues. Yet at last she concluded with a sigh, thou wast the properest man in Italy. Claudio, for which she wept heartily and said she cared not. Don Pedro, that she did. But yet for all that, and if she did not hate him deadly, she would love him dearly. The old man's daughter told us all. Claudio, and moreover, God saw him when he was hid in the garden. But when shall we set the savage bull's horns on the sensible Benedict's head? Oh, that's the cuck signature again. Yea, and text underneath. Here dwells Benedict, the, quote, married man. Benedict, fare you well, boy. You know my mind. I will leave you now to your gossip-like humor. You break jests as braggarts do their blades, which, God be thanked, hurt not. My lord, for your many courtesies I thank you. I must discontinue your company. Your brother, the bastard, is fled from Messina. You have among you killed a sweet and innocent lady. And for my lord Blackbeard here, or Lackbeard, I said Blackbeard, but I'm supposed to say Lackbeard. He and I shall meet, and till then, peace be with him. Exit. Don Pedro, he's in earnest. Claudio, I am most profound earnest, and I'll warrant you for the love of Beatrice. And hath he challenged thee? Oh, most sincerely. What a pretty thing man is when he goes in his doublet and hose and lives off his wit. He's a giant and an ape a doctor to such a man. But soft you, let me be. Pluck up, my heart, and be sad. Did he not say my brother is fled? Enter Dogberry, Vergis, and the watch with Conrad and Braccio. God, this is going to be confusing to read. Dogberry, come you, sir, if justice cannot tame you, she shall narrow away more reasons in her balance. Nay, and you be a cursing hypocrite one, and you be looked to. Don Pedro, how now? 2 of my brother's men bound, Braccio, 1. Claudio, hearken after their offense, my lord. Don Pedro, officers, what offense have these men done? Dogberry, marry, sir, they have committed false report. Moreover, they have spoken untruths. Secondly, they are slanderers. Sixth and lastly, they have belied a lady. Thirdly, they have verified unjust things. And to conclude, they are lying knaves. Don Pedro, first, I asked thee what they've done. Thirdly, I asked what's their offense. Burp. Sixth and lastly, why are they committed? And to conclude, what you laid to their charge. Claudio, rightly reasoned, and in his own division, and by my troth, there is one meaning well suited. Don Pedro, to Braccio and Conrad. Who have you offended, masters? What are you thus bound to your answer? This learned constable is too cunning to be understood. What's your offense? Braccio, sweet prince, let me go no farther to mine answer. Do you hear me? And let this count kill me. I have deceived even your very eyes, and your wisdoms could not discover that these shallow fools have brought to light, who in the night overheard me confessing to this man how Don John, your brother, incensed me to slander the lady Hero, how you were brought into the orchard and saw me court Margaret in Hero's garments. Oh, how you disgraced her when you should have married her. My villainy, they have upon record, which I had, 225. Rather steal with my death than repeat over my shame. The lady is dead, upon mine and my master's false accusation, and briefly I desire nothing but the reward of a villain. Don Pedro to Claudio, runs not his speech like iron through your blood? Claudio, I have drunk poison while you uttered it. Don Pedro to Braccio, but did my brother set thee on to this? Braccio, and paid me richly for the practice of it. Is he composed and framed of treachery and fled upon his villainy? Claudio, sweet Hero, now thy image doth appear in rare semblance that I loved it first. Dogberry, come, bring away the plaintiffs, and by this time our sexton hath reformed Signor Leonato in the matter. And masters, do not forget to specify when time and place shall serve that I am an ass. Vergis, here comes Master Signor Leonato and the sexton too. Enter Leonato Antonio with the sexton. Leonato, which is the villain? Let me see his eyes, that when I note another man like him, I may avoid him. Which of these is he? Braccio, if you'd know your wronger, look upon me. Leonato, art thou the slave that with thy breath hast killed mine innocent child? Even I alone. Not so, villain, thou'st believed thyself. Here stands a pair of honorable men. A third has fled, and a hand in it. I thank you, princes, for my daughter's death. Record it with your high and worthy deeds. 'Twas bravely done, if you bethink you of it. Claudio, I know not now to pray your patience, yet I must speak. Choose your revenge yourself. Impose me to what penance your invention can lay upon my sin. Yet sinned I not, but in mistaking. Don Pedro. Oh, by my soul, nor I. And yet to satisfy this good old man, I would bend under any heavy weight that he'll enjoin to me. Leonardo. Hey, cannot bid my daughter live. That were impossible. But I pray you both, possess the people in Messina here, how innocent she died, and if your love can labor aught in sad invention, hang her an epitaph upon her tomb, and sing it to her bones. Sing it tonight, Tomorrow morning come you to my house, and since you could not be my son-in-law, be yet my nephew. My brother hath a daughter, almost a copy of my child that's dead, and she alone is heir to both of us. Give her the right you should have given her cousin, and so dies my revenge. Claudio. Oh, noble sir, your overkindness doth wring tears from me. I do embrace your offer and dispose for henceforth of poor Claudio. Then tomorrow I expect your coming. Tonight I take my leave. This naughty man shall be face to face be brought to Margaret, who I believe was packed in all wrong. Hire it to it by your brother. Borachio. No, by my soul she was not, nor knew not what she did when she spoke to me, but always hath been just and virtuous in anything that I know by her. Dogberry to Leonardo. Moreover, sir, which deed is not under black and white, this plaintiff here, this fender, did call me an ass, and I beseech you, let it be remembered in his punishment. And also, the watch heard them talk of one deformed, and he say he wears a key in his ear and a lock hanging by it, and he borrows money in God's name, the which he hath used so long, and never pay that which men grow hard-hearted, and will lend nothing for God's sake. Pray you, examine him upon that point. Leonardo, I thank thee for thy care, their honest pains. Dogberry, your worship speaks like a most thankful and reverent youth, and I praise God for you. Leonardo, giving him money, there's for thy pains. Dogberry, well, God save the foundation. Go, I discharge thee of thy prisoner, and I thank thee. When I have an errant knave with your worship, which I beseech your worship to correct yourself for the example of others. God keep your worship, and I wish your worship well. God restore you to health, and I humbly give you leave to depart. And if a merry meeting may be wished, God prohibit it. Come, neighbor, exit Dogberry and Verges. Leonardo, until tomorrow morning, lords, farewell. Antonio, farewell, my lords, we look for you tomorrow. Don Pedro, we will not fail. Claudio, tonight I'll mourn with Hero. Leonardo to the watch, bring you these fellows on. We'll talk with Margaret, how her acquaintance grew with this lewd fellow. Next up, scene 2. Meanwhile, Benedict whines that he can't write poetry for Beatrice. When Beatrice shows up, they start flirting, which is adorable since she just asked him to kill someone. He tells Beatrice that he's challenged Claudio to a duel, so now he's just waiting for an answer. Then Ursula shows up and says that Hero was innocent all along. Benedict says, I love you, and they go join the rest of the people in the house. Act 5, Scene 2. Enter Benedict and Margaret. Benedict, pray thee, sweet Mistress Margaret, deserve well at my hands by helping me to the speech of Beatrice. Will you then write me a sonnet in praise of my beauty? In so high a style, Margaret, that no man living shall come over it, for in most comely truth thou'st deservest it. To have no man come over me? Why, I should always keep below the stairs. Thy wit is as quick as the greyhound's mouth. It catches. Margaret, and yours is as blunt as the fencer's foils, which hit but hurt not. Most manly wit, Margaret. It will not hurt a woman. And so, I pray thee, call Beatrice. I give her the 3 bucklers. Give us the swords. We have the bucklers of our own. If you use them, Margaret, you must put them in spikes with a vice, and they're dangerous weapons for maids. Well, I will call Beatrice to you, who I think hath legs, and therefore will come. Exit Margaret. Apparently Benedict sings. God damn it. The love of God that sits above and knows me, how pitiful I deserve. I mean in singing, but in loving. Lender, the good swimmer. Troilus, the first employer of panders, and a whole book full of these quondam carpetmongers whose names yet run smoothly, even in the road of a blank verse. Why, they were never so truly turned over and over as my poor self in love. Mary, I cannot show it in rhyme. I've tried, and I can find out no rhyme to lady, but baby, an innocent rhyme for scorn, horn, a hard rhyme for school, fool, a babbling rhyme, a very ominous ending. No, I was not born under a rhyming planet, nor I cannot woo in festival terms. Enter Beatrice. Sweet Beatrice, wouldst thou come when I called thee? Yes, senor, and depart when you bid me. Oh, but stay till then. Then is spoken. Fare you well now, and yet ere I go. Let me go with that I came, which is not knowing what hath passed between you and Claudio. Only foul words, whereupon I will kiss thee. Foul words is but foul wind, and foul wind is but foul breath, and foul breath is noisome. Therefore I will depart unkissed. Well, thou hast frightened the word out of the right sense, so forcible is thy wit. But I must tell thee plainly, Claudio undergoes my challenge, and either I must shortly hear from him, or I will subscribe him a coward. And I pray thee, now tell me, for which of my bad parts didst thou first fall in love with me? For all of them together, which maintain so politic a state of evil that they will not admit any good part of intermingle with them. But for which of my good parts did you suffer first for love for me? Suffer love? Oh, good epithet. I do suffer love indeed, for I love thee against my will. Well, in spite of your heart, I think, alas, poor heart, if you spite it for my sake, I will spite it for yours. For I will never love that which my friend hates. Thou and I are too wise to woo peacefully. Well, it appears not in this confection. There is not one wise man among 20 that will praise himself. An old instance, Beatrice, that lived in the line of good neighbors. If a man do not erect in his age his own tomb ere he dies, and he shall live no longer in monument than when the bell rings and the widow weeps. And how long is that, do you think? Question. Why an hour in clamor and a quarter in Rheum? Rheum? R-H-E-U-M. Well, let's find out what the hell that's supposed to be. A watery fluid that collects in or drips from the nose or eyes. Late Middle English. Okay, that's gross. Therefore, it is most expedient for the wise, if Don warm his conscience, find no impediment to the contrary, to be the trumpet of his own virtues, as I am to myself. So much for praising myself, who I myself will bear witness is praiseworthy. And now tell me, how doth your cousin? Very ill. And how do you? Very ill too. Well, God served, loved me, and meant. There I will leave you too, for here comes one in haste. Enter Ursula. Madam, you must come to your uncle. Yonder's old coil is at home, and it proved my lady hero hath been falsely accused. The prince and Claudio mightily abused, and Don John is the author of it all, who fled and gone. Will you come presently? Takes off. Beatrice, will you go hear this news, senor? I will live in thy heart, die in thy lap. Oh, that's supposed to be a sexual term. I get it. And be buried in thy eyes, and moreover I will go with thee to any uncles. Scene 3. The next morning, everyone's back at Hero's tomb to watch the idiot Claudio sing songs at her grave. But he just reads the death poem and then hangs a copy of it on her tomb. He promises that he'll come back every year and read it before leaving to prepare for the wedding to Leonardo's niece, who is apparently just being called a lookalike. Enter Don Pedro, Claudio, 3 or 4 lords with tapers, and musicians. Claudio, is this the monument of Leonardo? The first lord, it is my lord. Claudio, reading an epitaph. Done to death by slanderous tongues was the hero that here lies. Death in guerdon of her wrongs. What's guerdon? I hate it when I do this. A reward or recompense. To give a reward to someone. All right, fine. Of her wrongs gives her fame which never dies. So the life that died with shame lives in death with glorious fame. Hangs the scroll. Hang thou there upon the tomb, praising her when I am dumb. Now, music, sound, and sing your solemn hymn. A song. Pardon, goddess of the night, who that slew thy virgin night, for the witch with songs of woe, round about her tomb they go. Midnight, assist our moan, help us sigh and groan. Heavily, heavily, graves yawn and yield your dead, till death be uttered, heavily, heavily. Thank God that's over. Claudio, now unto thy bones good night. Yearly will I do this right. Don Pedro, good morrow, masters, put your torches out. The wolves have prayed, and look, the gentle day before the wheels of Phobos, not looking it up. Roundabout dapples the drowsy east with spots of gray. Thanks to you all, and leave us, fare you well. Oh, good morrow, masters, each day is his several way. Exit the lords and musicians. Don Pedro, come, let us hence, and put on other weeds, and then to Leonato's we will go. And Hymen now with luckier issue speeds than this for whom we rendered up this woe. And finally we wrap it up with scene 4. Meanwhile, back at the church, Leonato, Antonio, Beatrice, Benedict, Hero, Margaret, Ursula, and the friar get ready for their big surprise wedding, which after all this doesn't sound like a toxic idea at all. We learn that Margaret got interrogated like crazy and that they all decided she was innocent of knowing what was going on. Benedict is relieved that Don John's plan has been found out because he still loves that little guy Claudio. He didn't want to kill him. Benedict is so relieved that he asked Leonato if he could marry Beatrice. Don Pedro and Claudio enters, so Antonio runs off to get the masked hero. While they're waiting, Don Pedro and Claudio make fun of Benedict because he's just in love with Beatrice, which is a lot of fun. I mean, he's responsible basically for the death of this person as far as he knows, but he's still got time to make fun of Benedict. Because, I guess when you just get done singing poetry at your dead fiance's grave, puts you in kind of a lighthearted mood. Well, anyways, the women show up wearing masks, and Claudio vows to marry the masked stranger next to him. He doesn't care. But then she pulls off her mask and reveals it's actually Hero, still alive and vindicated. And instead of Hero and the other masked women clawing his eyes out for being a horrible monster, incapable of basic trust, everyone starts celebrating. Then Benedict publicly asks Beatrice if she loves him. She says no. They both agree that they're just good friends, until Claudio, who's still alive at this point, and Hero pull out poems Beatrice and Benedict have written for each other, and to laughingly prove them wrong. And then, because no one is capable of thinking sanely, Beatrice and Benedict give in and agree to get married, which they just 1 second ago said they don't want to, and they're better off being friends. Now, they're suddenly like, I'm all in, let's get married. Try to imagine how they handle other decisions of importance between the two of them. Things like, picking out furniture for their home, or deciding what to name the baby, or deciding to even have a baby, or, trying to buy a cat. Everyone makes fun of Benedict for being in love again, because everyone is like a child. But then he doesn't care this time. Claudio and Benedict officially announce their re-friendship. And then suddenly a messenger bursts in to say that Don John has been arrested trying to flee, but he's been brought back as a prisoner. And Benedict says to Don Pedro, let him sit there till tomorrow. We can party. Benedict promises to invent imaginative tortures for him, which will most likely end up with him dead. And then they dance. Enter Leonato, Antonio, Benedict, Beatrice, Margaret, Ursula, Friar Francis, and Hero. Friar Francis, did I not tell you she was innocent? Verp, Leonato, so are the prince and Claudia, who accused her, upon the error that you heard debated. But Margaret was in some fault for this, although against her will, as it appears, in the true course of all the question. Antonio, well, I'm glad that things sort so well. Benedict, and so am I, being else by faith and forced to call young Claudio to a reckoning for it. Leonato, well, daughter, and you gentlewomen all, withdraw into a chamber by yourselves, and when I send for you, come hither, masked, and Prince and Claudio promise by this hour to visit me. You know your office, brother. You must be father to your brother's daughter, and give her to young Claudio. The ladies leave. Antonio, which I do with confirmed countenance. Benedict, Friar, I must entreat your pains, I think. Friar Francis, to do what, Signor? To bind me or undo me, one of them. Signor Leonato, truth is, good Signor, your niece regards me with an eye of favor. Leonardo. That my daughter lent her, 'tis most true. Benedict. And I do, with an eye of love, requite her. Oh, the sight whereof I think you had from me, from Claudio and the prince. But what's your will? Benedict. Oh, your answer, sir, is enigmatical. But for my will, my will is your good will, may stand with ours this day to be conjoined in the state of honorable marriage, in which, good friar, I shall desire your help. Oh, my heart is with your liking, Friar Francis, and my help. Here comes the Prince Claudio. Enter Don Pedro and Claudio, and 2 or 3 others. Don Pedro, good morrow to this fair assembly. Leonardo, good morrow. Prince, good morrow. Claudio, we here attend you. Are you yet determined today to marry with my brother's daughter? Claudio, I'll hold my mind where she is. She an Ethiop? I'll hold my mind were she an Ethiop. Like from Ethiopia? He's basically saying, yeah, from Ethiopia. So he's basically saying he'd do it even if she were black. God damn it. We got this far without just open racism, but now it just happened. Moving on, we're almost done. Leonardo, call her forth, brother. Here's the friar ready. Exit Antonio. Don Pedro. Good morrow, Benedict. Why, what's the matter? They have such a February face. February face? So full of frost, of storm and cloudiness? Claudio, I think he thinks upon the savage bull. Tush, fear not, man. We'll tip thy horns with gold. Oh, they keep talking about him being a cuck. They're going to make fun of him for being a cuck. They're going to put gold on his cuckness. And all of Europa shall rejoice at thee, at once Europa did at lusty Jove, when he should play the noble beast in love. Benedict, bold Jove, sir, had an amiable low, and some such strange bull leapt your father's cow, and got a calf in that same noble feat, much like you, for you have just this bleat. Claudio, well, for this I owe you. Here comes other reckonings. Enter Antonio, Hero, Beatrice, Margaret, Ursula, the ladies masked. Which lady must I seize upon? Leonardo, this same is she, and I do give her to you. Claudio, well, why then she's mine. Sweet, let me see your face. Leonardo, no, that you shall not till you take her hand before this friar and swear to marry her. Claudio to Hero, give me your hand before this holy friar, and I am your husband if you like of me. Hero, and when I lived, I was your other wife, and when you loved, you were my other husband. She unmasks. Claudio, another hero. Another hero, nothing certainer. One hero died defiled, but I do live, and surely as I live, I am a maid. Don Pedro, the former hero that is dead. Oh my God, these guys are stupid. Leonardo, she died, my lord, but whiles her slander lived. Friar Francis, all this amazement can I qualify when, after that holy rites are ended, I'll tell you largely of a fair hero's death. Meantime, let me wonder, seem familiar, and to the chapel let us presently. Benedict, soft, and Friar, which is Beatrice? Beatrice, unmasking, I answer to that name, what is your will? Do you not love me? Oh, I know, no more than reason. Why then your uncle and Prince and Claudio have been deceived? They swore you did. Do you not love me? Troth, no more than reason. Why then my cousin Margaret and Ursula are much deceived, for they did swear you did. Oh, they swore that you were almost sick for me. Oh, they swore that you were well nigh dead for me. 'Tis no such matter. Then do you not love me? No, truly, but in friendly recompense. Come, cousin, I am sure you love the gentleman, says Leonardo. Claudio, and I'll be sworn uponst that he loves her, for here's a paper written in his hand. This is a guy who just realized the woman that he killed is alive. Doesn't matter. Turns out he's just like, oh, hey, look, I got this paper. A halting sonnet of his own pure brain fashioned to Beatrice. Shows a paper. Hero. And here's another, writ in my cousin's hand, stolen from her pocket, containing her affection unto Benedict. Shows the paper. Benedict. A miracle. Here's our own hands against our hearts. Come, I will have thee, but by this light I take thee for pity. Beatrice. I would not deny you, but by this good day I yield upon great persuasion, and partly to save your life, for I was told you were in a consumption. Benedict, peace, I will stop your mouth. And they kiss. This is complete insanity. Don Pedro, how dost thou, Benedict, the married man? Benedict, I can tell thee what, Prince, a college of wit-crackers cannot flout me on my humor. Dost thou think I care for a satire or an epigram? No. If a man will be beaten with brains, he shall wear nothing handsome about him. In brief, since I do propose to marry, I will think nothing to any purpose that the world can say against it, and therefore never flout at me for what I have said against it, for a man is a giddy thing. And this is my conclusion. For thy part, Claudio, I did think to have beaten thee, but in that thou art like to be my kinsman. Live unbruised, and love my cousin. Claudio says, I had well hoped thou would have denied Beatrice that I might have cudgelled thee out of thy single life, to make thee a double dealer, which out of question thou wilt be, if my cousin do not look exceedingly narrowly to thee. Benedict says, come, we are friends. Let's have a dance. We are married. We may lighten our own hearts and our wives' heels. Leonardo, well, we'll have dancing afterwards. Benedict, first, of my word, therefore play music, Prince, thou art sad. Get thee a wife. Get thee a wife. There is no staff more revered than one tipped with horn. Ugh. Enter a messenger. To Don Pedro, my lord, your brother John is taken in flight and brought with armed men back to Messina. Benedict, to Don Pedro, think not on him till tomorrow, and I will devise the brave punishments for him. Strike up, pipers, and everyone dances. Well, this turned out to be a real long episode, but it's the final episode here in my mansion. Enjoy a cigarette here in the smoking room for the last time, because you can't smoke in my mom's basement. Let's just skip all the bullshit and get straight to what did we learn here today? Well, it's a whole mix of stuff. It's so hard to walk away with just one theme, since so many things were given almost equal weight. We have issues around gender politics, like the themes of honor for men and how they treat a family's disgrace if a woman is perceived as having infidelities. Though I'm sure if it were a man that was perceived as having infidelities, nothing would happen to him. They just say, oh, aren't you naughty? You have the women in the play expressing frustration and anger at the patriarchy when the male characters in this play are dumb as hell and, like children, have to have their hands held to go and do the right thing. Even the more experienced and older men act like big spazzy babies. You have symbolism like the horns representing men being cucks, and beards which are a sign of masculinity. So when Benedict is asked to shave by Beatrice, it's represented as him being a little baby piss pants. When you have everyone's insecurity represented in bad poetry and masks, most of the big emotional moves happen when people wore them, like when Don Pedro has to wear one and pretend to be Claudio in the beginning. And in the end, when all the women are wearing masks, that the men's vanity don't have to be confronted. I read that part on a website. I don't know if their vanity doesn't have to be confronted. They're just wearing masks because they wanted to have this big surprise reveal. You got class politics kind of shown through language, where there is the wealthy are just so pleased with themselves and playfully sparring through wit. And the lower class are destroying the English language with Dogberry. And the dirty jokes. Oh, God, the dirty jokes. It's the only time both classes can come together and speak as one. Then you have an author acting like a god, torturing his characters. When Benedict is trying to win Beatrice back by singing to her like an idiot, he says, "The God of love that sits above and knows me, how pitiful I deserve." This creates dramatic irony where Benedict doesn't realize that the audience knows that the first reference to the God of love was actually when Don Pedro joked that he would be the God of love if he tricked them to get together. Reminding us that all of this was not because of divine intervention, but from a prank played between bros. Then Benedict goes on with some horrible rhyming and mythological allusions. This can be seen as Shakespeare letting everyone know that the power of language ain't gonna lie with these little characters. It lies with the author. That talent can't be learned, that he is the actual poet. But I guess, obviously, ultimately, the point of this play is about love being messy. Benedict talks about suffer love, a good epithet. I do suffer love indeed, for I love thee against my will. He's complaining about how he's tortured with his love for Beatrice, even though love is supposed to be a good thing where everyone is happy. This line and the whole play illustrates how love can hit anyone and upturn their lives, especially Hero, who married a child that will snap like a twig if she even glances at a man while buying Triscuits at a grocery store. Oh, thank God for the grandfather clock. You get to go home, and hopefully when I move into my mother's basement, you won't find where I live, and you'll leave me alone. So with that, thanks for listening, and I will see you next week. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, there's that. Are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people, not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com, which basically just points you to Mastodon. Why did I go all in with Mastodon? I have no idea. But if you go there, it'll point you to my link tree where you can listen to episodes, which is confusing and meticulous. But if you want to go to just my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Nuzzle House, it'll point you to all the rest of my shows, like Glenn Reads Books to You, which you're listening to right now, Gestating the Curious Mind, where my wife and I write paranormal smut and then publish it on Amazon, and also Nuzzle House's CBS Radio Mystery Theater, where we basically create our own episodes of Radio Mystery Theater, a show from the 70s, because they don't make them anymore. Damn it, we want to hear something new. Oh, I'm also on Instagram, something that I try to use but dislike, which is Instagram.com/HouseNuzzle. And the lesser now, thanks to Elon Musk, Twitter. Used to be my home, and now I can't stand it, which is Twitter.com/HouseNuzzle. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly, glenn.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdling or a dork. Now, back to business. Can't believe I drank all of them already. There's gotta be one left.